Welcome and good morning, everybody, to my channel. My name is Rainer, and this is Rainier Books, and this is the second video from Dublin, Ireland. Probably, maybe also the last one because we're leaving tomorrow night for Sweden. But today I want to talk about a book that I finished on my trip here. Actually, a book that I should have read earlier last month. I was in Lisbon, Portugal. I don't know if you saw that video that I made about the city, about my stay in Portugal, but always when I travel, I try to read something from the country or from the city where I am actually. And so I had this still to do to finish a novel by the Portuguese author Dulce Maria Cardoso. It was the second novel that I read from her. I had read also when in Portugal, but in 2022, I read her novel O Retornos, I think it's called in Portuguese, The Returnees, which was the first novel, the first literary exploration of the topic of people returning from the colonies, from the former colonies like Angola, Mozambique, Cabo Verde, and Sao Tome to Portugal. There were hundreds of thousands of Portuguese people who lived there all their life. And when Portugal sort of got rid of the colonies because they fought for their independence in the beginning of the 1970s, hundreds of thousands of Portuguese people had to return, quote unquote, because they didn't return. Actually, for many of them, it was um, a trip, an immigration to their mother country, which was a new country for them because they had never lived there. And Cardoso also, I think she has background in Angola, and was also a part of the returnees. She wrote a beautiful and great novel about that I read 3 years ago. Now she's sort of back in translation in many languages. I saw this German translation, which I actually read, and there's also an English translation since last year. And her new novel is called Eliete, The Normal Life. And this is a novel about a woman named Eliete. She's in her early 40s, probably. She's married to a guy named Jorge, or Jorge, I don't know how to pronounce that in Portuguese. They have two teenage daughters, and they're probably in their late teens, Marcia and Ines. And the novel starts at a point where the grandmother of Eliete is being brought to a home for the elderly because she has acted strangely. Turns out that she has dementia. And this sort of event kicks a lot of things, triggers a lot of things in Eliete's life because she realizes that her life is at a point, half of her life is probably lived. She's in her early 40s, and her husband doesn't really care for her any longer. He's actually also flirting on Facebook with colleagues from his job. He works as a programmer in the computer industry. Eliete herself is a real estate agent. She sells apartments and condos and houses in Cascais, which is a little bit north of Lisbon, a beautiful place at the Atlantic Ocean. Eliete is pretty frustrated actually with her life because even her daughters, it's difficult for her to communicate with her daughters, Ines and Marcia. She doesn't understand them anymore. And she follows one of her daughters on Instagram because the daughter doesn't want her mother to follow her Instagram account. She makes up a fake account and follows her daughter on Instagram to find out what her daughter is doing in her life. And so there's a lot of social media in this novel. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, and there's also Tinder. Tinder plays an important role because right in the middle of the novel, when we sort of have found out what Eliete is reflecting about her life, that she thinks that everything is dull and boring, and really also she's not satisfied with her own body. She has gained weight. She's not well trained. She thinks that she's ugly. So all these things are mentioned in an interior monologue, which is very, very beautifully written by Dulce Maria Cardoso. It's really a great, great written novel. I absolutely love the style of writing. Sometimes it's difficult to read, but there are passages that were a little bit slower for me to read, but there are passages that are enormously good, also about the human condition, about life and how life changes with the years and how much experience you can get. But then we get in the middle to the point where Eliete decides to change her life because she doesn't want to take that anymore. And she goes on Tinder, a dating app, which probably most of you people know about. Maybe some of you are on Tinder or you have heard about Tinder. So she creates this identity, this fake identity, because she doesn't want to go on with her real name. She's married, right? And she's the mother of 2 children. So she goes out by the name of Monica and makes very carefully pictures. She steals pictures from an Australian woman that she uses for her identity as Monica in Cascais, Portugal. And then she starts working out at a gym. She starts changing her diet. But really, her family doesn't care. They don't really understand what she's doing. And then she finally starts dating men. And she has a lot of one night stands, probably, in shady motels in Cascais. And then she falls in love with another guy. So Eliete is changing her life in a way that that is very, very difficult, especially for women, because women are more stigmatized when they do things like that, right? Especially in a country like Portugal, which is very Catholic, which is, I think, still male-dominated. Please, my Portuguese friends, don't judge me. That's just my precipitation of it. I might be wrong. So this is the second half of the novel, and then the novel finishes in the end with a very interesting sentence, because it says end of part one. Because there's also the former Portuguese dictator Antonio Salazar plays an important role. He plays a role in the beginning, and then in the end. I cannot spoil. I saw some reviews where people actually have spoiled this, what happens in the end, so I won't do this. Of course, apparently not, because this is not a spoiler channel. I just want to tell you, if you want to learn about a woman's life in her early 40s in general, doesn't matter in Portugal, elsewhere, and her thoughts. If you want to know more about Portugal and about Portuguese culture and how the Portuguese society is built up for just normal, ordinary people, then you should read Eliete, A Normal Life by Dulce Cardoso, a novel that I really, really liked. And I recommend it to you. And this is from Dublin, Ireland. Now I have to go out and explore the city one more day. See you soon, and hopefully in another beautiful video on this channel. And there will be videos about Ireland. I have to get home because I don't have the editing program with me here on my computer. See you. Bye.